Et alors, je vais passer la parole à Monsieur Mani Shankar Aiyar, qui vient de l'Inde. Donc, pour 5 minutes, comment voyez-vous l'Union européenne comme acteur de la politique internationale?
Merci beaucoup. As an Indian, I necessarily have to look at the European Union from the outside and not from the inside. And from the outside, it seems to me, if you'll forgive my being blunt, that you are not a European federation. You are a European Union. And you're a union and not a federation because the constituent member states ultimately want to retain their sovereignty. And the most important sphere in which they wish to be sovereign is in their external relations. So when you talk of a European foreign policy of 27 sovereign nations, it tends to end up as the lowest common factor and not the highest common factor. And therefore, if you wish Europe to be more than the sum of its parts, then there must be an unique European dimension which only the European Union can give and which the individual states cannot give. And what is that dimension? To me, looking into Europe from outside, it seems to me that you will never be able to give a European dimension which is unique until and unless Turkey becomes a member of the European Union. For it's not only a question of a 28th member of the European Union, but the fact that Turkey is the bridge between Europe and Asia. And the minute Turkey becomes a member of the European Union, we restore a historical fact that has been disrupted by the emergence of the United States and by the period of colonialism, which is that for thousands of years of human civilization, the Eurasian continent has been the fount of almost all culture and civilization. And if you bring Turkey in, especially given the profound cultural influence that still continues of Turkey in all the area that used to be called Turkestan and extends from Armenia and Azerbaijan right through to Kazakhstan, then you suddenly realize that if the university in Almaty is called the Eurasian University, then there is a desire in Asia to restore the geographical integrity of Europe and Asia. But if Turkey is not a member of the European Union, then Asia is in your neighborhood. It's not your neighbor. And indeed, Asia can never be your neighbor because once Turkey comes in, you'll be part of this Eurasian continent. And the minute you are part of the Eurasian continent, it's only the European Union that can be part of the Eurasian continent. England will still remain very far from Turkey. France will still remain very far from Turkey. But Europe will include Turkey and therefore be an immediate neighbor of Israel, of Iran, of Iraq, and by extension, of all of Asia, including India and China. At that point, a genuine European foreign policy becomes possible. And were it to become possible, my suggestion to you is that the unique characteristic of the European Union derives from Article 1 of the Treaty of Rome, which says that only a democratic country can be part of the European Union. But when it comes to the current European Union foreign policy, this is completely forgotten. And in a very opportunistic way, for commercial or economic reasons, you build up a relationship with dictatorships in North Africa, in Latin America, in Asia, and don't particularly privilege the fact that there are democracies also in Asia or in North Africa or in the rest of Africa or in Latin America. And What I think Europe doesn't realize at all, doesn't understand at all, despite the fact that I've been pleading this with European Union ambassadors in Delhi for the last 20 years, as a diplomat and then later as a minister of the government, and now as a member of the parliament, is that the distinction between European democracy and democracy that is emerging in Asia and Africa is that here in Europe, democracy began at the grassroots. You had the parish, you had the county council, you had the local democracy first, and over 1,000 years or more, it evolved into democracy at the higher levels. But in our countries, we've begun with democracy in parliament and in our provincial assemblies, but we are trying by a process of devolution to reach the grassroots, whereas you, by a process of evolution, moved from the grassroots to the higher levels. So you have an unique experience of local democracy. It's your expertise, and that is what I think you could share with immense benefit, certainly to my own country, and I believe to a lot of Asia and a lot of Africa. And indeed, Latin America as well, but Mr. President will confirm that. This being so, if you add two elements to your existing European Union foreign policy, one, participation of Turkey, which incidentally happens to be a non-Christian country, and therefore will convert the character of the European Union from being a descendant of Charlemagne and viewed as the crusader nation by your neighborhood into genuinely a composite entity which can include Christians, it can include Jews, it can include Muslims, and it can include atheists like me, then there is a new character that comes to the European Union which goes beyond the Holy Roman Empire, and then it becomes part and parcel of the Eurasian landmass. It therefore acquires a disproportionate influence. If that influence is used for military reasons or other reasons of hegemony and dominance, then you're bound to fail. But if you use it to build up grassroots democracy, which is your unique heritage in the rest of the world, then I think Europe will revert to being the dominant soft power that it was in the 19th century and for about half the 20th century. So that is the direction in which I, as an outsider, would point you. But of course, all these decisions will have to be taken by you and not by us. Thank you very much.